going to stop you there for a second. We have
Sure.
our first guest, which is Professor Kevin Curran. Professor Kevin is a professor of cybersecurity, executive co-director of the Legal Innovation Center at Ulster University. He sits at the advisory group of the UK Cybersecurity Council and the Northern Ireland Civil Service Cyber Leadership Board. He is a regular technology contributor to TV, radio, trade and consumer IT magazines. He is one of the most interviewed technology experts in the UK, with over 2,000 plus interviews in recent years. Professor Kevin, good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Show at the Voice of Islam Radio.
Good morning.
So it's a privilege to have you here with us this wonderful morning. Professor Kevin, what are some potential benefits and risks linked with judging AI a little too early?
Yes, of course, there's kind of two extremes. Some people think that this new generative AI is just a progression of what we've had before. And then there's others who believe it really has power to change the world. And in most cases, again, for bad, really. So there's fears out there that this generative AI is going to lead to the destruction of mankind. And most people take an extreme view on one way or the other. But there is a lot of hype out there.
Mm-hmm. So what are common misconceptions that may influence judgments on AI? You know, how can we respond to them then?
The most common misconception is that, for instance, this ChatGPT, which is the model, the large language model, which has garnered the most attention, the misconception is that it is intelligent because it gives back answers which are much more clearer than your traditional search engines in many cases. It has an amazing ability to actually generate computer code, which is very difficult to do. People go to college for many years to do this. So there's fear there, of course, in that case. But ChatGPT is not intelligent. It's really an autocomplete. Really what it is great at is predicting the next word in a sentence. But it doesn't have any reasoning capabilities, as in what we would ascribe to consciousness within humans. But what it is an amazing word predictor. But in tangent with that, it's also a notorious liar. We've seen many cases, of course, in Missouri where people have been libeled by ChatGPT. There was a professor in the United States who just Googled, is there any law cases against professors for sexual harassment? And his name was brought up, and he was named by going to a conference in Canada, which he never went to. It correctly ascribed the name of the university he's employed in. The only problem is he was never arrested for sexual harassment. He did not do that. And what you have is really a computer program libeling someone forever, because that will be on the web. So that's the danger, where not only the global misinformation, but also things like this where individuals are labeled incorrectly.
So then what can we do to avoid something like that, or how do we respond to this?
Yeah, well, the onus is back on the people like OpenAI who have produced the model. The onus will be back on Microsoft and Apple and whoever else puts large language models out there to create some kind of boundary, to create new rules which prevent someone from being libeled. And that is quite difficult, because you got to think about it. Of the billions of people on the earth, anyone can ask a question. And of course, the actual program itself is so large with all the parameters again, that it's not like a traditional program where we can look into the code and say X equals Y, so that will produce Z. Not when it comes to artificial intelligence and neural networks, that they are what we call this black box, that it learns by the weights that are given by mathematical formulas, but there is little control by the programmers in how it learns, how it arrives at its output. But of course, something has to be done to guard the output in case it libels individuals.
Professor, how is AI impacting the job market then? And, what are the consequences for the workforce community?
Yes, AI is another form of technology, of course. And we've had technology for a few hundred years now. And when it came to the agricultural industry, for instance, if we take that vertical, machines actually did displace a lot of people working on farms. And we have statistics in the drop of people because machines made it so much quicker. Before machines, of course, we had animals and we had a little bit of a plow, but generally farming methods did not change much for thousands of years until we literally invented the massive Ferguson tractor, which was invented in Northern Ireland. Then we could have attachments to a tractor, which allows you to plow, allowed you to sow seed, allowed you to dig up potatoes. It really speeded up production. So therefore, there was less people needed on a farm. So these things have been happening. Now, with computers, of course, with AI, AI is able to do wonderful things, especially in the art department, for instance. You're able to, with ChatGPT or these other stable diffusion type products, image generators, you're able to say, can you generate a picture of an elephant on a beach, drinking a can of Coke, reading the New York Times? And it will come back and give you a very realistic picture like this. So if you just take that one there now, I mean, that's a trivial example, but art departments will be hammered because why would someone put all the requests through to try to get someone in the art department to generate some images for them for some article or report that they need? And usually you need the report the next day. So what people will do, of course, they will bookmark these sites like DALL-E and create their own images. So therefore the art department have become less useful. Another area which is will be decimated by it is video. It's incredible at generating video now, which is really realistic. Again, things which we thought were impossible before. So there will be struggles in that. And same with animation. My own son was an animator, a precocious animator from the age of 12, and he stopped doing it because about 6 years ago, he's seen that artificial intelligence would take over what he was doing. He could spend 5 days for 5 seconds of animation. That's how long it took. And he was putting the hours in, 14 hours a day. With AI, with being able to move the body of the animated piece, he's doing whatever else. It just takes minutes now, really. So he was correct on that one. So there are jobs which will be taken, again, by the creative elements of AI. But we've had this for many years again, and it will also open up other opportunities. But definitely, some jobs will no longer exist after ChatGPT becomes a mainstream.
So, Professor, AI was actually made to assist us. So, to what extent do you think this software would be able to go, in the near future then?
It does, and it does assist us. It saved me a lot of time during the week. I had to write a piece for a particular article summarizing, and I used ChatGPT. And of course, you just got to be careful. I've learned not to presume that the references that it throws up at the end of any article are correct. And 9 times out of 10, I'd find that they're not. But the actual material itself was very impressive, and it did save me a lot of time.
Okay.
But you just got to know not to give it 100% trust, and that the references can be made up completely.
How do you envision the future of AI in our everyday lives? What are the benefits or challenges that it may bring for us?
Yes, it should augment our intelligence. The main worry, of course, is AI being used within military weapons, really. That's where the human will be completely taken out of the loop. So my main worry would be that AI will find its way into military use, then into autonomous weapons, and then we have less oversight on it. So the future really is regulations. Again, that we've seen how we're still trying to usher in the regulations which protect us when it comes to social media and our families. Again, that finally fines are being levied against the likes of Meta, like yesterday, 1.2 billion. But again, we don't want to be too slow to the game. So therefore, we do need authorities right now. We need oversight. We have to have limits on what can it be used for. We should also have limits on how it's applied out there. What are the fines? What do the companies have to do to protect? Because it is a very, very powerful technology. I started out by saying it's not intelligent as we know it, but it does mimic human intelligence greatly. So then when we combine that, of course, with all the audio And then within the cybersecurity community, where AI can be used to fake people's voice, and that has been done. Fake audio has scammed people where they think they're talking to their boss, and the boss tells them to transfer money to a different account, and therefore the money gets transferred because someone has been using a sample of their audio from the public domain. So therefore we have worries like that. So therefore in the future, you will need a secret code word when you're speaking to your friends and family and workers, something that no one else can know, because you cannot, in the future, we cannot trust voices. We cannot trust videos like we did before. We have to be more discriminating, and that's why it can add to a mass of disinformation.
Well, Professor, thank you for all your insight. Is there any last piece of advice for our listeners in regards to AI before we bid farewell to you?
I guess life is about lifelong learning at times. And if people are worried about the jobs, and they are in certain job sectors, I guess that they should put time into learning how to use these models, learning the new tools which you build on top of it, and just learn new skills, really, that there will always be new opportunities again. So just because one job was replaced, there are new jobs being created all the time, especially within technology. So just to keep learning and keep on top of it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Professor Kevin Curran, for joining us here today this morning. It was a pleasure to share this conversation with you, and hopefully we can get more advice of you in the near future. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye. That was Professor Curran. Kevin Curran is a professor of cybersecurity, executive co-director of the Legal Innovation Centre at Ulster University. He sits on the advisory group of the UK Cybersecurity Council and the Northern Ireland Civil Service Cyber Leadership Board. He is a regular technology contributor to TV, radio, trade and consumer IT magazines. He is one of the most interviewed technology experts in the UK, with over 2,000 plus interviews in recent years.